Beer.
That could be the intro if you were recording. Oh, that's coming through real nice.
Yeah. Perfect. Put a little brown sugar on it.
Well, I'm in pretty good shape, full shape I'm in, living in the shadows of all my sins, but hey.
Good.
Sounds good to me.
All right, now shut up.
He said, now shut up.
Hey guys, what's going on here? River Sullivan coming at you right here, right now. Pre-recorded yet again for your live listening pleasure of another episode of Season 5 of This Evening Tonight. And with me here, yet again, the man with a cherub-like demeanor and the mind and wits of a military-trained scientist doctor, my bearded bestie, Dave.
Hello, I'm here.
You like that intro right there?
I do like that one.
I actually spent time.
Yeah.
I had to write you one because I just shooting from the hip. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, it sounds a little bit more like
I
me.
needed to really just military scientist doctor. I like it. But also here joining with this guy is a tall drink of Bud Diesel. Local musician and songwriter Ryan Beavers will be joining us here for this episode. What's going on, Ryan?
Man, it's popping. What's up?
What's up? You were so happy about that. So, welcome to the show. We've been hanging out here just a little bit here offline before we got anything recorded, but you seem to be liking our setup and everything.
Man, from a small town boy from Oklahoma, this is beautiful country, beautiful people. I'm glad to be here.
Well, hell yeah, man. So, let's get this started here, and like we talked before, this will be just kind of a informal interview, and whatever tangents we happen to go off, so be it.
Hey, I will say this. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the movie Pineapple Express, but Seth Rogen has a radio voice, and you, my friend, have a radio voice.
Thank you very much. I can only hope one day to get Seth Rogen money. So tell me about yourself here, Ryan. How'd you get your start in music?
Man, oh, God, that's a hard question. I could go back a long time ago. When you specify that, what are you asking? When I found my love for music or when I actually started playing music?
Yes.
On both?
I don't care. Wherever you want to go with it, man.
Man.
Look, I'm just the podium, man. You're the guy speaking on it.
Well, I guess if anybody wants to hear the story.
Yes.
I found my love for music in an album called Remain by a band called The Great Divide that a guy from Oklahoma was in. His name's Mike McClure, and my dad had it when I was in about 2nd to 3rd grade. And, man, I never knew anything about music at that point in my life. I was a young kid, but I loved the sound. The sound just spoke something to me.
Was it the music itself or just like the guitar?
The music itself. I didn't know what the music and his voice specifically, the way the words ran together. It was just something in me knew that's what I loved. I didn't know then what I know now, but you know what I mean. That was what it was, and it was. I was probably almost 7 years old then. I didn't pick up a guitar till I was like 13.
So you had some time there to let that marinate a little bit
I did, and man, I found a love for music. And when I picked up a guitar, man, I was nobody. I was straight nobody, and I still follow that reputation today. I like that reputation. I like to stay hidden. It doesn't matter to me to be under the spotlight necessarily.
So other than the feeling though that music gave you, like what really wanted you to go, you know what, I'm gonna make a thing out of this. You know,
Man, I could give you a really cool explanation about this. So when I was about 12 years old, my mom and dad went through a custody battle. My dad ended up losing. About 6 months later, my mom was in a bad spot. She took me to my dad's house. I stayed at my dad's every weekend. And she said, I can't take care of him no more. Will you take him? And my dad said, of course I will. And I lived with my dad for about 2.5 years in a little 2-bedroom trailer in Fort Gibson, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Living pretty rough, and then my dad met my stepmom, and then my dad had some friends around in that time that it was just me and Dad. That was a lot of me and Dad time and a young man coming up, you know what I mean? I was 12 years old, 13 years old, saddling horses, you know. I had a pond to fish in on a 10-acre lot, you know what I mean, a little trailer.
Yeah.
I couldn't ask for nothing better, but my dad was wild back then, and he had a lot of friends around that played music. And I found a love for music back then, but I still never touched a guitar. Well, my dad met my stepmom. We moved to Muskogee a couple years later. And the house, honestly, that I live in now, one of my dad's best friends moved into, and it's from here to your trailer. Within 100 yards from the back door of my house.
Let's get this straight, sir. That is a house.
Well, that is a house. I will say that. My bad. That is a house.
It's a trailer.
It's a trailer.
It's a heavily modified trailer. It actually classified as a ranch home.
I bet it's nicer inside than what I have.
I'm just going to say that I believe the correct term is a modular home.
It's not.
See, I don't have terminology.
It has a license plate.
Oh God! If you take the sheeting off of it, you can still find the wheels under it.
But
No. They cut the wheels off.
going back to where we was at, man, when my dad met my stepmom and his best friend, his name's TJ Barnett, he moved into the house that I now currently live in. And he was one of the influences that I had growing up that played music. And he was the one that taught me how to play music. And I came to him one day. I found a guitar in my shop that my parents had dogs, and I had to take care of the dogs, and they had still partied whatnot. And anyway, I found a guitar from one of the parties when I was cleaning kennels one day in the shop, and I sat down with it. I started messing with it, and I got done cleaning kennels, and I walked straight over to TJ's house with that guitar. I still have it hanging up in my son's room right now. I said, TJ, teach me something.
Yeah.
I want to learn something. And he sat down and he showed me 4 chords, and I worked on them 4 chords for a long time.
Yeah. It's like my brother. I told you I have a twin brother that he's been playing guitar for a very long time. And that's where he kind of started, was he learned a couple chords and just worked and worked and worked. The way me and him, when we started, how we learned music, because when he picked up guitar, he would sit and listen to songs and then try to replicate it the best he could by ear. And that's what I used to do.
That's exactly how I kind of got my start off a little bit.
I was like 17 or 18 when there was music that really hit me, and people thought of it as weird back then, but now it's kind of niche and almost popular now. Was Blues Traveler.
Yeah.
John Popper, that the guy did run around stuff like that. He played harmonica, best harmonica player in the world. And I heard that first time I heard those songs, I was like, man. Like, that struck my chord for me. I felt something in me that I was like, I'm gonna pick up the harmonica, and I did that. And I worked at a gas station. It was also like a Subway restaurant, probably about 10 miles away from here. And I would be in the cooler on my break, just like just playing bullshit. Like, you'd hear somebody open the cooler and they'd stop because they'd hear me playing, and it all sounded like shit. Like, I just started to figure it out. I would have my ear in my boombox in my room as a kid, and would be listening to all the Blues Traveler albums, like trying to figure it out and play it. And yeah, I just that feeling of work and want to achieve, to get to that level where you're proud to be a musician. Like, I really relate to what it is that you're saying here, because there's not a better feeling in the world. I'm sure when you mastered those 4 chords, you were like, oh fuck, just like it was just
man, it was just at that time in my life, that's when I found what I was talking about earlier. When I felt that feeling when I heard that album when I was a young kid that my dad played for me, my biggest accomplishment back then when I first started playing guitar was I want to learn the songs that I fell in love with music with. And that's what I ended up doing.
That makes perfect sense.
Hell yes.
You want to make the thing that moved you in the first place. I want to take a stab at these 4 chords, though.
Okay.
I'm gonna guess. It was a G.
No, it's number 1.
C. Either E minor
or A minor
or A minor, or E and A.
F.
He showed you D. He showed you the D.
In the order G, D, C, E.
Damn. Ah.
And he made me sit down. He said, boy, if you're going to learn from me, you're going to learn the way I want you to learn. I said, okay. Whatever it takes. I want to learn how to play.
Mm-hmm.
And he made me 4 downstrokes, 4 strums each time on chord G. G, 4 strums. D, 4 strums. So on and so forth.
It's one of the hardest parts is just making it sound like an actual chord, like no dead notes. And
no stops in between.
Or that
chord changes when you're first starting. It's a nightmare. Because you're always, you can't just, one of the things, when I was helping, I guess I wasn't really helping, I was in Guitar 1 and Guitar 2 in high school, and in Guitar 2 I ended up doing a lot of, I guess, student-teacher work, helping people tune and stuff. I was a little advanced at the time. But everybody would look at their fingerboard and then look at their picking hand before they play, like, every thing. It's like, no, you got to get a feel for it. You got to. It's a muscle memory. So
feel your fretboard. Clear up to the nut. All right,
Jesus River, right up to the nut. A nice bone nut. None of that.
Hey, I definitely understand what you're saying on that because, man,
yeah, it's frustrating. That's why a lot of people people who play guitar make guitar look very easy, and then people pick it up. It's like, oh, it's easy. I can play it. No,
man, I would like to be. I would dream to be one of those people, but I maybe to some people I am, and to those people I'm glad to be. But I don't like to hold myself to those standards. You know what I mean? I grew up a nobody. I grew up somebody that didn't get looked at a second time. I grew up small. Grew up running around different towns every year.
Just an Okie from Muskogee.
Just an Okie from.
Here we go.
I couldn't help it.
Muskogee's where I currently live, but I hold my roots in Cherokee County, which isn't far from there, but it's a little different.
I like your style, man. It's always like the way I was taught growing up myself was always be humble. Was never forget where it is that you came from. I grew up as a son of a coal mining family. My dad was a coal miner.
I can respect that.
From the ages of like 15 to 52 till he retired. Still coughing up coal dust. Like, my mom was a stay-at-home mom, then she started work for the school systems, everything. Hard-working people. And I'm very glad that I grew up the way that I did, because growing up that way, I mean, you had a little bit rougher situation than I did. I'm one of the lucky ones, I guess. It seems nowadays, statistically, more parents are divorced than together.
See, I didn't grow up with parents, and I consider myself lucky for the upbringing that I have, because I've met people in my life and my path that have had some horrible, horrible upbringings that I don't know what I could do if I went in their shoes. You know what I mean? I think about that on a day-to-day basis.
It's rough. It's rough out there.
So what was the name of that band? Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
Which band?
The one you said that inspired you?
It was called The Great Divide.
Great Divide. So, were there any other bands out there that gave you that inspiration? Anybody else that you draw from for your music now? Because when I heard you play before, I'm just going to stab out there. I heard a little bit of what kind of reminded me like Tyler Childress. What was it? You were in Tennessee?
I was in Tennessee when I was 17. We played in Memphis, and we played in Nashville. We played in Memphis at a place called the Center of Southern Folklore, if I'm not wrong.
Your voice stylization reminded me of Childress, is what it was. Man,
we do have a red dirt background. We have you ever heard of the band called Cross Canadian Ragweed?
No.
I like that. I like that.
I wanted to say though that that's badass. Most times with what I listen to, I use the Amazon.
Man, I guarantee
it picks random shit, and I want to say that I've heard of it, but I can't be sure.
Or Cody Canada and the Departed, or the Mike McClure band. Those are all so.
I've heard of the Mike McClure McClure band.
So Mike McClure is the lead singer for the band The Great Divide. He was with The Great Divide for a little while. I couldn't tell you how long. But he did a couple albums with them, and he was their singer or whatever. But he's also from Oklahoma. He's from, but I believe he currently lives in Ada. But Cross Canadian Ragweed, the lead singer for them, they're not together anymore. But his name is Cody Canada, and he is from Yukon, Oklahoma. Well, Mike was a big influence on Cody and helped him produce a lot of albums. And then along came Jason Boland out of the picture, and I couldn't tell you too much on his background, you know what I mean? But they ended up doing a mash, and that's kind of what I grew up on was the Great Divide Band, Cross Canadian Ragweed, Jason Boland and the Stragglers, and then on top of that, a lot of old country music.
Yeah.
A lot of older outlaw country music. Hank Jr., Waylon Jennings, Clay Walker, you know, Clint Black, a lot of stuff like that. I grew up on a little bit older stuff.
I used to grow up, yeah, I'm still growing up. I'm almost a man.
We never stop. We never stop.
I just remember as a kid riding in my dad's truck, listening to some of his music, and it was all country music was what I grew up with. And it was always Hank Williams Sr. I'll never forget riding out,
like a lot of singing.
Camping out for senior, God, I can't speak today. We were riding out, and he would always be listening to Hank Sr. every time we go out camping and fishing. Always hearing like, "There's a Tear in My Beer," and then we heard the remastered version. It was him and Junior singing that they mashed up together.
See, I grew up on my dad's dad. When I would go stay with them, they have a radio set up in their living room, and it's got a few little speakers kind of set up on a desk, kind of like what you have your little setup on right here.
Yeah.
But they played. The station back home was 99.5.
Yeah.
Every Sunday morning from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. They.
Sorry, I'm like watching Dave try to stealthily close the cooler. Just toss it.
Dude, from 7 a.m. to 11 a.m., man, they play Southern gospel music. And I grew up on, my grandpa is a big George Jones fan, a big Hank Sr. fan. And I'll tell you, here in the last 2 years...
George Jones, isn't he the guy that got arrested on the tractor?
It was a lawnmower.
George Jones got arrested on a lawnmower?
DUI. It was a lawnmower.
No shit.
DUI.
It was a lawnmower, a DUI on a lawnmower.
Okay.
I swear to God.
I just had to interject there. I'm sorry.
No, you don't have to interject at all.
I'm still lost on your face.
You know how many country songs are written about that?
I don't know.
There's quite a few. I can be honest.
I'm still cracking up over his face trying to close the cooler. You look like you were trying to crack a safe.
I'm sorry.
I just kept hearing Mission Impossible in my head. Okay. It's like, just close it.
Hey, that's the.
I guess if it was just one big loud noise, you could edit
podcast,
it out.
I guess.
So, what other? Let's say it this way here. How many different venues have you? Would you say you've played at?
I couldn't keep count. I couldn't give you an accurate
Okay,
number.
then let's go into it this way. What is the best and the worst venue you've ever played at, and why?
And that's a hard question.
The worst is probably going to be your easiest one to pick.
I think the best is probably going to be here.
Yeah.
Man,
I mean, yeah.
Here's the deal. I can't give you a really good answer on that because every show I play is good for me because I love to play music. There's shitty ends on every business. The way I look at music is business to me now because this is what I'm trying to make my life out of. But
What was that?
That was a beer opening. It's the sound of a good time.
It was a wild beer.
Sounds like America.
I've heard that sound many a times. Man, I've seriously played bar rooms, man, where there was this many people, 3 people sitting in front of me. And it didn't make a shit whether I was sitting around a campfire by myself or in a crowd of 1 million people. It's about the songs that I sing, and Mr. Dave can probably vouch for this because you've seen it one time, especially when I was a little drunk. I hold a lot of passion in what I sing.
I even remember a little bit of it too.
I could tell, man, when you were warming up there, getting the strings ready and getting your fingers warmed up, like the way you were moving, I'm like, he is solid in that music. Like you were just your head started doing the bob, man. You weren't looking at shit.
He becomes the music.
You were just in it. That was,
Man,
I
it's
was
just
seeing your soul come out.
That's what it is, and that's kind of what I grew up on. And if you really listen to like a lot of what you're talking about, a lot of Hank Senior, a lot of stuff you got brought up on, that's a lot of soul searching music.
The soul in a lot of that old country music, to me, it was found in an instrument a lot of people don't like, and that's the steel guitar. That sliding guitar.
I'll put my heart on the Bible right now. I've been looking at buying a steel guitar since I was 16
That's
years
one of the
old
most dangerous.
because it is a dying instrument.
It's a dying instrument, and it's also only one of the instruments out there that has a real risk of cutting your fingers off. Like,
I will, if I ever branch off to another instrument, steel guitar is on the list on top.
I'm going to pick up something obscure. Dulcimer. Yeah, sit me down for the dulcimer.
I will do that because,
like
I said, I have a heart for old country music. That's a dying sound.
There's
you don't
a lot
hear
of,
that anymore. And I
you know who's keeping that alive that's modern right now, though, is, in my opinion, Sturgill Simpson.
Sturgill Simpson.
Sturgill is
Tyler
my hero.
even has it.
Yeah.
Jamie Johnson, man, is a good one. And that's about all you got. You got Whitey Morgan. Have you ever heard of
Whitey Morgan in the 78s?
Whitey Morgan in the 78s. Man, Turnpike Troubadours had a little bit of steel guitar.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. I'm just loving the fact that we have a musical episode and it's a big vein of music. A big throbbing vein of music that, oh, God, I hit it.
Cody Jinks.
Cody Jinks, yeah.
Cody Jinks has some steel guitar in there.
I'm here too.
Dave, you can speak, dude.
Dave's heart is in the metal. Dave is like me, and probably like you. We listen to a lot of stuff, but our hearts lie in one true vein of music.
Man, I want to hear about Dave's background. Where'd you come from, man?
Outer space.
Outer space? Tell me about outer space. What's it like?
I came from my father's balls.
Yeah, and then you were in your mother's embryo. And then what happened?
That's kind of up in the air.
And then they flipped you upside down, heard you cry, slapped you on the ass just for being a bitch.
And
you
then,
were crying.
Ta-da! You were shipped off to wherever you were shipped off to.
Some podunk town in West Virginia.
Some podunk town in West Virginia.
I thought we were talking about being shipped overseas.
That's what
I've been overseas.
That's Roost.
Oh.
How dare you?
I was born and raised in Weston, West Virginia.
Western West Virginia.
Yeah, real quick. Ryan brings up a good point.
He does.
Because we have yet to have your proper introduction. You just kind of jumped into season 5 and everybody's like, this is Dave.
I'm Dave.
Yeah. Ah! Oh my God.
And there goes the mic.
Oh,
it's still working.
No, we're good.
How'd that happen? I swear to God, I did not touch
slipped
it.
out of the collar. And we're back, guys. Sorry about that here. We had a little bit of an equipment malfunction. Ryan's microphone stand decided it just wanted to quit. I don't know if it was trying to bargain for better wages or what, but it quickly took off.
Me.
It went on strike and just dove to the ground. It pulled a FIFA like yellow card on the field.
Oh,
just we watched it all fall down. I'm like, oh God.
Well, I believe we were talking about me.
We were
Yes.
talking about Mr. Dave's
The legend
background.
of Dave.
My favorite topic, talking about myself.
I want to talk about me.
I'm from Weston, West Virginia, in Lewis County. Grew up in the town until I was about 9. Moved out to the sticks. Grew up in the rolling hills of central West Virginia. Joined the Army at a tender age of 18 years old. After 9/11, doing my duty to my country. Fighting
Thank
for
you
your
for your
freedoms.
service.
No, you're welcome.
Defending your fucking freedoms.
That's right. Like a man.
America, fuck yeah!
Like a man.
I can respect
Did a tour over in Kuwait. Ended up moving closer to the border right before they sent us over into Iraq for the initial invasion.
Oh, you're part of the surge.
I was in the spear point, my friend.
I did not know that.
That's right.
Wow,
And then,
that is amazing.
Then I
Explains a lot.
came back, played around in Georgia for a while, and they sent me back from 2005, January 2005 to January 2006. Got stop loss, which gave me a little bit more money in my pocket. Quickly ETS and got the hell out of there. Tried my hand at bartending for a while. Went to WVU for mechanical and aerospace engineering for 3 years. Drank myself out of that. And eventually came to my senses. Met my wife 10-ish years ago. And wifed her up a couple just maybe 3 years ago now, and probably the single most stupid thing I've ever done.
Hey, that's the smartest thing you've ever
Subtext,
thing.
he's very lucky to have you.
Is wait so long to wife her up.
Hey, that
Lock
I
it
can
down.
stand behind that.
You got
Congratulations.
I
on
should have
you,
wifed her up way earlier than that.
Got a Drax them sklons.
I don't know what that means.
Neither do I.
Mr. River. What's your story?
Well, a lot of people know, we've talked about it here over the course of the show, is Air Force veteran. Did 6, almost 7 years.
Thank you for your service.
Oh, no worries. 6 or 7 years-ish active duty with the good old people up there in Montana, where I was
Montana. Dude,
confined.
I've always dreamed of living in Montana for a little
I
while.
loved it. I loved Montana, except for the fact that the winters were 9 months out of the year, and I wouldn't get to ride my motorcycle. Only but 2 months, maybe 3.
This crazy son of a gun rode a Sportster from Montana back to West Virginia.
Dude, that's a long trip on a bike, on a Sportster.
Yeah, they're tiny.
What size?
The 1200. Like the little sport. It's about the size of that trash can, though. And
my baby's mama, my baby mama's mom had an 883 Sportster that my best friend ended up buying, and he ended up wrecking it. But my best friend is about 6'3" and about 240.
Probably looked a little funny on that 883.
I'm about the
it
same
was
size.
it was a good sight to see, but man, I love that boy. It's the guy I'm talking about. His name's Brendan Coleman, man, and I've known him since I was a wee lad. He's the only friend of mine that I have in my life that's known me before I picked up a guitar.
So we're pretty much going to skip the best and worst venues that you've played because, you know, you're just such a humble, delicious man that is just so sweet that
Man,
you
there
don't want
has
to
been
talk
some-
smack on any of the venues.
There's been some bad ones, but there's been some really good ones, and I'm just grateful to have the show. You know.
So
what
I mean, you're like you're what I aspire to be as a human being. Is you're just so humble.
I know a lot of musicians prefer those like really small venues because they're more intimate.
I
See him
can
opening
stand
that
behind
cooler. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. He just open it.
Anybody
slam it.
anybody need one?
I'm good, buddy.
Is that okay?
I don't care.
I don't want to be too loud.
Just it all comes out in editing. It's all good.
There we go.
So, do you have any like bucket lists?
You get that out of editing.
I shall.
Damn it.
Was that a bucket list?
Yeah. So,
question?
do you have any bucket list venues you like to play at, or anything you'd like to do musically?
Man, I do have a lot of bucket lists. I'd say the number one on the top would probably be getting to play with my idol, Mr. Mike McClure, that we've talked about before. That's slowly, steadily starting to change a little bit. Now coming to the realization that this is possible for me.
Mm-hmm.
To see some of my best friends doing good, my sister included, it's unexplainable how good it feels.
Yeah.
I love that. That's one thing I could say about our community and music that we have. We're very humble and we're very grateful that we get to see everybody succeed.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody succeeds, and I'm very grateful for that. And man, anything that comes about, things like this would be on my bucket list. To be in West, if you'd have told me a year ago, dude, I'd be on a podcast in West Virginia,
You're gonna make me blush.
I'd have laughed. You know what I mean? Right. I don't know. I'm a small town boy from northeastern Oklahoma. I don't.
Hey man, if anybody ever told me like a year or two ago that I'd be running a podcast, I would have laughed in your face because I never wanted to do one. And now that we've gone down this road, I'm glad, and I'm never going to look back on it.
Man, I guess.
I remember how hard I laughed when you told me you wanted to do it.
You piece of shit. What? Nobody
Man,
listening to your dumb ass.
I guess the biggest dream would be to someday play on the Grand Ole Opry, but I don't think that'll ever happen.
What about Mountain Stage? You ever?
I think I've heard of that.
Mountain
I think-
Stage is run by
Tyler Childers played a lot on that.
It's
hasn't he?
NPR. public broadcasting
Okay,
radio.
okay, yes.
Yeah, NPR
yes.
runs that, and it's for West Virginia. For West Virginia's NPR, it's known as the Mountain Stage. And I want to say it's right down there in Charleston.
See,
and they've
Sturgill,
had hundreds.
You brought up Sturgill earlier. A lot of Sturgill stuff that I like comes from the NPR. Now that you say NPR, I didn't realize that was what you were saying.
Yeah, always has that one guy's like live from the Mountain Stage, yeah, West Virginia, yeah. But he's like this MC showman host of it, but he also sings, and he's actually pretty good. But I listen to a bunch of artists. Like, I want to say I discovered Sturgill Simpson on Mountain Stage.
I think that's probably where I found him too, to be honest. I don't remember who we found first. I don't remember if it was Tyler Childers or Sturgill Simpson.
Mm-hmm.
But we followed that, I believe, through Whitey Morgan in the 78s that we brought up earlier.
What's your favorite Whitey song? Mine, I'm going to give you is, was it Sitting Here Waiting Around to Die?
Waiting Around to Die?
Yeah.
You know where he brings up in that song?
What's that?
Muskogee.
He does.
That's where I currently live. That's one of my favorites. But it would either be a tie-up between Hard Scratch Pride and Where Do You Want It?
Okay. The man always had he kind of has like a Johnny Cash kind of voice, you know?
Man, I kind of consider him a little bit mixed
Like
between
Colter
Hank.
I was going to say Hank Jr.
and Waylon.
Oh, okay, Waylon, yeah, I could see that.
Hank, like a mixture between Hank and
Now,
Waylon.
Sturgill has a lot of Waylon Jennings inspirations.
See, and I feel
to him.
that.
Like, you can hear Waylon coming out of his voice on, what was it, the Turtles All the Way Down, that album?
I've seen Jesus play with flames. And a lake of fire.
I've seen Jesus play with fire.
That's a good song.
Sing it, River.
I could only hope to be that good one day. I could only hope.
I scream sing Sturgill Simpson in my earbuds when I'm like cutting grass. I don't give a shit. Like, I love it.
You ever heard the song Time After All?
Is this a Sturgill song?
It is a Sturgill song.
I have to have heard it. Because I even own like his Cutting the Grass albums where he remastered some of his old songs and made them into bluegrass songs.
Do you want to cut a one on the acoustic? I'll play it.
Well, if the copyright wouldn't kill us, I'd say yes, but the copyright will kill us.
Oh, the copyright will kill you.
Sturgill, I need you to listen to the show.
Sturgill.
And then give me your blessing, and then we will have Ryan back on the show to play it. Please, Sturgill, smile upon me.
I could never do that song Redemption like he could.
He's a veteran as well, you know that?
I did not know that, actually.
Served in the U.S. Navy. So if you listen to his...
Sturgill Simpson. Thank you, Sturgill Simpson, for your service.
Thank you, Sturgill Simpson.
It's like I said, like, what do you say to your Lord and Savior Sturgill? Thank you, Sturgill. Thank you. Bless us, Sturgill, for this feast we are about to receive.
Hose Dave.
Hey, I don't care what you say. I respect Sturgill in a very high sense.
Well, what was he? God damn it. There was a song that he played talking about sailing around the world and stuff like that. Sea stories. Where he's like, I got sea stories. Yeah, he's like, I got sea stories. I'm a shellback too. The shellback, having your shellback is apparently like a Navy badge that you get when you sail from, like, you've made your lap around the world in the ocean.
What's the one they get when they cross the? There's one when you cross the equator, and there's one when you cross like the prime meridian or something like that.
I want to say one of them is the shellback, because Navy Wayne, who was on the show,
I love Navy Wayne.
I miss that guy. He needs to come up here and visit sometime. I got to figure out what his days off are, though. I got to see if they've changed. But yeah, I had him listen to the song. And he was like, "Yeah, the shellback," and he explained it to me. The shellback was like a patch or a badge or a pin or something that you get in the Navy for, like, crossing the equator, the prime meridian, or something, like when you've gone almost all over the globe as a sailor.
I can't imagine being someplace like up here in the northern hemisphere. We look for like the Big Dipper or the North Star. Down there, you have to find the Southern Cross.
Yeah.
And I don't even know what that looks like, except for
a cross.
It probably looks like a cross.
Man, I could tell you guys a story.
I don't even know which way it points.
I could tell you guys a story that happened not too long ago. It was only about 6 months ago. That's about the stars, man. I was at a good friend of mine's house. Their name's Cody Lauren Kendall. And I played at their wedding. They're a little bit older than me. They're in their 30s.
Those old 30-somethings.
The old 30-somethings. But they're good people,
Boy, I hope
man.
I never
They're-
get that old.
They live 5 minutes from my house, man, and there's some really, 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 really good folks. They have a shop that's a little bit bigger than this. We got a dartboard set up in there, we got cornhole set up in there, and he's also a mechanic. He's a mechanic for a local construction company around there. And
Ryan.
man, we do a lot of
Ryan.
things. Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am,
Ma'am.
you got to bring that microphone to you.
We had that's
I don't like having this robot dick in my face.
Well, here's the thing. I was how old was I? I was about 4 or 5 years old. I had tubes put in my ears. I got a hearing defect, and when I was about 12, I lost them both. They finally fell out, but the doctors told my parents I'd hear like I was underwater for the rest of my life.
That's terrible.
Some people tell me I'm loud. So, since I became a music, the mic comes a little bit further away. You know what I mean? You could probably hear it in my music. I sing pretty loud, but I don't know. Neither one of you guys are very native, are you?
What's that?
Are any of you guys like actually truly native? Like Indian? Like Indian?
Nope.
Like Indian? Here's the thing. I really am Indian. And
I
Al's...
am full on import.
I'm Cherokee.
I am
Cherokee Indian. I'm from the Bird Clan. And
I'm
Al's...
a Norwegian Scots-Irishman.
No, but man, owls, they're strong medicine. They could be really, 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 really bad, or they could be really, 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 really good.
I have a bit of an infatuation with owls. I love owls. The symbol of wisdom, and
I love owls as well.
The old lady wants us to have a pet owl, and the only ones we can own here are barn owls, which are gigantic.
I was going to say, for the most part, that's illegal.
Yeah, barn owls are apparently the only ones that are legal, but they're like 2 feet tall. Like, they're big.
Yeah, but
Man,
they're
if
super
you
smart.
buy an owl, I will let it travel with me.
I told her, I said, I'm going to go,
Straight
I'm going to
up.
get my degree in falconry so I can have a falcon.
I wonder if you can teach an owl to speak.
I mean, you
I
could
bet
just
you
ask
could.
questions. Like, I want to see the owl police interrogator.
Do you guys
Ooh.
Yeah, but
want to hear
Ooh.
a really, really cool story about
Yeah.
crows?
Ooh. Yes.
So I have like 2 cool stories about crows. One story I want to shout out a good friend of mine. His name's Colton Crow. He has a band called Colton Crow and the Murders. They're from Oklahoma as well.
Another
His-
kick-ass band name.
it's actually
Sadly,
Murder.
it's-
I said
I
it
gotta
wrong.
get
It's
into this
actually
It's the devil's country. It's not the Lord's metal.
Colton Crow and the Murder. One of my
Hey,
best
I'm in.
friends I went to grade school with. He drums for him, and I met him through my buddy Casey West that I brought up earlier. But man, my grandma is very big into history, so it grew roots into history for me. And this would be my dad's mom, and she told me a story when I was 9 or 10 years old about how smart crows are. If you try to harm a crow that is fixing to hatch, like lay eggs,
Mhm.
when her eggs hatch, their hatchlings will know your face for up to 2 years.
That is terrifying.
It is terrifying. Like,
Did you ever
Crows-
know that? You
I
can
did know
you
that.
can pull it up on your phone and Google it right now, because I did, because I didn't believe it.
I'm going to believe you.
if you
I
harass a
trapped
crow,
a crow at one point in time in my life. In a steel foot trap. I trapped a crow.
that's bad juju.
Did you like look at it? It was like,
I
remember my
looked him-
face.
I had to look him as close as I'm looking at this mic and untrap him. I let him live. I let him fly off.
Were you like, please forgive me?
I definitely did pray about that one. I swear on the Bible on that.
Yeah, crows don't mess around. Like, if you harass a crow will tell the other crows
I can tell
about you. Like, they recognize faces. They can say red such and such. Like, they can pinpoint
Y'all heard
your
about this
car.
motherfucker Ryan? Yeah, he trapped my ass.
I will tell you
Let's
one
get him.
fact. One fact.
shit on his truck.
Another fact, I could lay my hand on the Bible. Every time I leave town, it doesn't matter whether I'm going out of state or I'm going out of the town that I live in, I see a crow fly from the ground to a power line in front of me.
Nope. I'm out.
They're keeping tabs on you, man. Making sure you're not trapping their buddies.
Crow's got you on the watch
I put
list.
my hand on the Bible on that, dude. I really do.
That's awesome. So, we are closing in rapidly here on the end of the show. But I have one more question here for you, and then we
Ask
have
away.
one more thing on that.
Do penguins have knees? That's my question.
I can't answer that.
So where you're at right now in your musical career, what would you tell a young you or somebody else that is trying to get started in music around the same time you did? What would you give them in terms of any inspiration or guidance that you'd have?
Man, from where I'm sitting at in today's world, I would say use the time that you have now, because you won't get it later. You'll be working, you'll have bills to pay, and you won't have that time. It's a lot harder to find that time to sit down and actually practice. And not only that, once you become a musician, it's a chore to sit down and practice.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like another job. You have to sit down and practice. And that's one thing. Another good friend of mine I brought up from Tahlequah, Oklahoma, Blaine Bailey. He's 19 years old. The boy is one of the most phenomenal guitar players I've ever met in my life.
I heard him play. He's slick. He's real good.
I respect that boy, and he's been playing a little bit longer than I have, a few years longer than I have, but he took what I didn't take when I was his age, and that was time. He sat down and he took that time and he ran with it, dude, and he can match Billy Strings right now.
Wow.
No shit.
No shit. At 19 years old, he can match Billy Strings. Just
Man.
about. Not, I won't say on everything he plays, but boy's 19 years old and he can pick.
When I was...
Those are wise words.
Yeah,
Take the time while you have the time.
damn straight.
It only comes around once.
You can say, like, being that passionate about music, it reminded me when I was like 17 or 18. I was a senior in high school, and I'd been playing harmonica for a couple years at that point, but I played so much and so often and worked at it so hard that I played the national anthem for like a pep rally for my high school. But I did it on the harmonica because I'd heard John Popper of Blues Traveler do his version, which was like the Jimi Hendrix version from like Woodstock. Did it there, played it, and I was just like this kid in high school and didn't really talk to too many people or anything like that. I was like this no-name kid, walked out in the middle of like our basketball court or whatever, played it, and then like ran away because I was so embarrassed over it. And I'll never forget when I hit the door, like it just erupted. Like it was so quiet you could hear a pin drop when I had stopped, and then I was like, huh, and it just like went away, and then it just exploded. And everybody was like chasing me. I was like, come back! Oh my God! Oh, that was amazing! Like you're like, for the rest of my time in high school, as short as it was, I remember I was, hey, there's River, the harmonica guy. Didn't fucking say anything. He just ran away.
See, that's one of the biggest things I learned when I was playing guitar from the gentleman I brought up way earlier in the episode was TJ Barnett. The 4 chords that he taught me to learn, the biggest lesson that I learned in those 4 chords was never stop.
Mm-hmm.
If you stop, everybody will know you messed up. If you keep going, 90% of the time, people are so drunk and people are so just into the time that they'll never notice what you did wrong.
Yeah.
And I still follow that today. I never stop. If you mess up, never stop.
Amen. So now we're closing out here, guys. As the end of the show draws near, normally when we have a guest on, we do what we call the farewell moment. But Ryan is also popping the cherry on this here, as he's going to be our first on-set musical guest of the show. So Ryan's going to play us here a little bit of something that he wrote. But before you get started, bud, do you have any shout-outs for anybody you'd like to give a shout-out to? This is your moment. You take the time that you need. And once I finish speaking, I will mute my dumb ass, and it is all you.
Man, I do have a few people I want to shout out. First and foremost, I want to shout out to my son, Stetson Beavers. I also want to give a couple of shout outs to some good friends of mine, Casey West. You can follow him at Casey West Music. He is on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Also, I want to give a shout out to Blaine Bailey Music. You can find him also on Facebook and Instagram. I want to give another shout out to my sister Maddie at Maddie K Parks. You can find her at Maddie K Music on Facebook, and I believe Maddie K Music on Instagram as well. And my Facebook, my personal page is Ryan Beavers. My music page is Ryan Beavers Music. And my Instagram music page is _Beavers _backyard _picking 007. I'll give you a tune. I'll give you a little bit of background on this. This was the very first song I ever wrote, and it was called Your Highway. And it's spoken more truth to me now that I've grown older. But I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning on a dream and wrote this song. Looking back when I was young, can't believe how far I've come. I went from a no one to a someone. It all came to me one night, singing into the Oklahoma moonlight. Right then I knew this was my life. There's roads we take every day, and different people cross your way. Some will go, the good ones stay. If you got a dream, go and chase it. If you got demons, stand and face them. Don't let nothing stand in your way of being who you wanna be. Go and do what you please. Who gives a damn what they all have to say? Make this your highway. Yeah, it don't make a difference if you don't come from much. Till I started out with nothing, you see how far I've come. Well, all it takes is a little I believe. Live with no regrets, and in the end you'll be free. You got a dream, go and chase it. If you got demons, stand and face them. Don't let nothing stand in your way of being who you wanna be. Go and do what you please. Who gives a damn what they all have to say? Make this your highway. If you got a dream, go and chase it. If you got demons, stand and face them. Don't let nothing stand in your way of being who you wanna be. Go and do whatever you please. Who gives a damn what they all have to say? This is your highway. Your highway. Your highway. Your highway.
Well, guys, that looks like all the time we have here for the show. Thank you again so much for tuning in. Thank you for stopping by. Don't forget all the other different ways that it is here you can listen. Feel free to check us out on anywhere that it is you can get a podcast. Check us out on the social medias, all that. We are Duke Cannon affiliates. We will give you guys a 10% off coupon here every week. But until next time, we hope to find you happier, healthier, and just a little bit less bitter in life. But until next time, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for tuning in. And until we see you next time here on the show, peace out. Oh, that was beautiful.